Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on LIMS, the core of labs of the future. My name is Megan Parrish. I'm the senior editor for Pharma Manufacturing Magazine, which is producing this event. And today's event is sponsored by Abbott Informatics. Today we're going to talk about how now more than ever, pharma laboratories need to have operational efficiencies in place to support mission-critical manufacturing production and testing demand. Proper data management is vital to achieve this and essential for labs of the future to succeed. In this webinar, we will discuss the benefits of a Laboratory Information Management System, or LIMS, and how to choose the right solution to manage and process lab data across your organization. We will also discuss the benefits of a well-managed infrastructure, hosting a LIMS solution in the cloud, and flexible options to meet budgetary needs. So in today's webinar, we are going to cover these points: the benefits of using a LIMS, what considerations you should take into account when purchasing a LIMS, common LIMS management challenges, and we'll also answer the question of whether or not you should host a LIMS solution in the cloud, while also discussing the benefits of a fully managed service. To complement this discussion, we will have a live audience-driven Q&A session at the end of the presentation, so please submit your questions for the presenters as they occur to you. Now, before I introduce the speakers, there are a few housekeeping issues that we need to go over. On the interface that we're using for this webinar, you can see several different boxes or sections. The upper left or audio section allows you to adjust the volume. If you want to do that, just hover over this section until you see the audio volume control, and then you can use that to adjust it. Below that is the Ask a Question box. This is where you want to put questions for our Q&A session, and you can type them right here into the box, and we will get to your question during that Q&A session. Also, if you're having technical problems with this webinar interface, you can simply type your question into this box as well, and one of our technical engineers will help. Then underneath the Ask a Questions box, we have a handouts area. Here you can find additional information available for download. Then in the largest section of this whole webinar interface, today's presentation slides will be displayed. Below the slides, you'll also see a live chat box. This is a good place to chat with other webinar attendees, but just note that this is not a good place to put any questions that you want for the Q&A session answered, because this is not where I'm going to go looking for those questions. Also, you can always enlarge a section by clicking on the square box in the top right corner of that section next to the X. But then if you accidentally close out a section, don't panic. You can get back to it by clicking the refresh button at the bottom of the screen. It's located to the left of the icons, or you can refresh the entire browser. We've also recently added a Q&A feature to our on-demand presentation so that listeners can ask the speaker a question and then it'll be passed along to them. Also, one final note. We ask that you respond to the feedback form at the end of this presentation. Your answers will help us improve future events. So now I'd like to introduce today's speakers. Today we have Janet Gonzalez, who is a Senior Product Manager of Quality Manufacturing Solutions at Abbott Informatics. She has 19 years of experience working with GXP electronic computerized systems at several pharma companies. We're also joined by Samuel Varghese, who is a Senior Product Manager with Specialty Products at Abbott. Samuel has worked at Abbott for 16 years. He started in IT support, supporting pharma products before moving over to the commercial side of the business. And with that, I will hand the floor to Janet and Samuel.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Janet Gonzalez, and I'm in charge of the first part of the presentation. It's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this session. So the topics for today is we're going to talk, like Megan mentioned, laboratory challenges, the benefits of a laboratory information management system, considerations when purchasing a LIMS solution. We're going to talk about our product, STARLIMS, for optimized labs. And Sam Varghese will take us through the journey talking about cloud, the common LIMS management challenges, why host a LIMS solutions in the cloud, and the benefits of a fully managed service. So what are the challenges, quality control challenges? And I put several questions that many of you today may be facing many challenges. So how the laboratory impacts product distribution? Have you found yourself in instances where your laboratory impacts delivery on time of the product, and therefore your company has to incur to expedite shipping. What are the consequences of samples not collected on time? How you explain a missed stability pool or a missed environmental monitoring sample collection? What is the cause of non-conformance? You know, how many people are involved in a non-conformance? What is the cost of a product recall? As you know, it could be millions. What is the cost of an investigation for errors that could have been preventive? And what if the product errors are missed and the product gets out of the door? So these are many of the challenges that today we face. And welcome you to use the chat, you know, to just comment on these challenges. If you work in R&D and analytical research lab, some of the challenges are, you know, try to find information. Let's say that you're performing a new drug application submission. What would be the cost of associated of not finding that information? And how do you demonstrate intellectual property of your inventions and discoveries when you need that documented evidence that you were the one who started the invention? How do you perform the method transfer today? How easy is to communicate among the laboratories from analytical research to technical service to quality control? And the other question is how much you spend, your organization spend, storing paper document offsite. What about if you have an audit and you have to get the information right away and it's not available? And how easy is to comply with your data retention policies if the data is all scattered around the lab? The reality is, if you look at this study or research from the GMP Compliance Organization between October 18 and June 19, there are many observations that relate to laboratory. For example, testing and release for distribution, written procedure deviations, testing and approval and rejection of components, stability testing, production record review. If you see, the challenges are still there. So what are the laboratory goals? The laboratory want to be efficient. They want to be able to find the data and centralize the data and comply with the retention policies. They want to minimize error that produce costly investigations and even recalls. And in a nutshell, they want to assure compliance. So the typical environment of the lab, as you know, is a very complex one. There are many processes associated to testing a sample or a product. You need to document that your analyst has been certified. You need to document your equipment calibration. You need to produce a certificate of analysis. You need to demonstrate the change of custody, who touched that sample, that product testing. You need to deal with material safety data specs, test raw materials, finished products, document your test preparations. So there are many processes associated just to release product samples. So what are the benefits? What LIMS systems bring to the table? Of course, to tackle the goal of efficiency, a laboratory information management system can help you to move to a paperless lab environment. There is no such thing as paper, no paper, but paperless. So a laboratory information management system will allow you to move away from logbooks, notebooks, forms, and all kind of scattered information that you may find on the lab. Also will help you with optimization of your resources, meaning that you're going to have visibility of your equipment and analysts in order to manage and schedule those individuals for work. Collaboration, to be able to access the data across organizations. Many companies have silos of information. With the LIMS system, you're going to be able to have visibility in between departments and even between sites. Reduce error for fast decision making. So with integration of enterprise system and instruments and standalone system, you're going to be able to minimize manual data entry, redundancy, information, as well as reduce by consequence the amount of errors. Automation where possible. There are many opportunities with the LIMS system to automate processes such as calculation, generation of certificate of analysis. Imagine that you don't have to worry about having to generate a certificate of analysis, and that certificate of analysis goes directly to the individuals that needs to have it. Data centralization and retention. All laboratories have to perform long-term studies for stability, trending. So a laboratory management system will help you to have the data readily available, searchable for fast decision making. You're going to be able to have the information to produce your product trending reports and trend outliers, as well as have visibility of your calibrated state of your equipment, be proactive with your schedules of preventive maintenance and calibration, and of course, prevent to use equipment that is out of service. Regulatory compliance, that's another benefit of a laboratory information management system. With a LIMS system, you're going to be able to support 21 CFR Part 11 compliance and other regulatory guidelines, support data integrity, and of course, decrease the probability of recall related to unnoticed out-of-spec products, and by consequence, protect your reputation. And I didn't mention on the slide, but you're going to be able to be audit ready. Imagine that an auditor comes to the door and start asking questions about a particular product and all the process associated. And when the data is centralized, it's very easy to be able to find it right away and reply to those auditors' requests. You have the confidence that you have a system backing your operations. So we know the challenge, we know the benefits. Now we go out there and we start evaluating solutions and laboratory information management systems to later implement. So what are the considerations for choosing a laboratory information management system? Of course, you need to identify your objectives. What my business want to perform with this LIMS system? And who are the ones who's going to give you that information are your stakeholders, your laboratory personnel, analyst, supervisor, manager, the director of the lab, the vice president, quality assurance, the team from product release and operations, even information technology, and your clients. The second thing is, once you identify the needs, is you need to ensure that that solution meets those needs. And secondly, that the system is able to comply with your minimum corporate IT standards. You identify your equipment, the equipment that your laboratory is using or plan to use, what kind of software you're using or even plan to use, and you need to ensure that this new LIMS is compatible with all of these. Third, if you're working with different formats of data, it could be Excel, it could be Word, it could be data that comes as an output of instruments, you need to ensure that that solution or LIMS system is compatible with all those data types. And also, another consideration is security and regulatory requirements. How secure is my new or this new system or LIMS system? Can user be able to be assigned roles and data be segregated based on those roles or those sites? Can I prevent certain sites to see information that they don't need to see? How well I can protect my data with this LIMS system? Will the system allow backup or even archives so I can comply with my record retention policy? Can this system be easily audited? Does the system have protection so I can ensure that I comply with my cybersecurity guidelines? Scalability and system configuration. Another important consideration is, can this LIMS system grow with my organization? Because obviously you're going to expand, you're going to release more products, you may acquire another site. This system is scalable. How easy I can configure my system to cope with the future needs or expand, align with my enterprise needs. Can I keep the pace with technology? That's another question. Does the technology allow me to keep moving along with technological demands of operating system and databases? Is my system that I'm going to acquire is adaptable to that? And of course, quality and cost. So you need to determine your budget and the target price point, and the quality and complexity of the implementation. Of course, that will impact the price. Not the cheapest system will be the best, not the highest price system. It will depend on what do you want to do in terms of implementation, what I call the big bang approach, a phase approach, how many ancillary solutions I want to implement within my system. Service and continuous support. What kind of customer support does this company offer for their LIMS? I'm going to have support during the implementation and journey of implementing a laboratory information management system. Do I'm going to have post-go-live support? Can I purchase a service plan? And important, very important, does this vendor offer a service level agreement, like a 24/7 follow-the-sun service? So there are many considerations, as you can see, once you decide that it's time to acquire a laboratory information management system, to ensure you select a vendor that, what I say, have your back. Upgradability. How well is the new LIMS is prepared to handle the future of technology? As I mentioned before, nowadays, every several months, we have changes on operating system, database technologies, hot fixes. Can my system allow me the upgradability I need to cope with those technological changes? Does this company offer support for future updates? And how easy I can add new equipment to these LIMS systems without having to customize? Usability. This is another important consideration, because at the end, end users need to be able to reap the benefits of a LIMS system, not to work for the system, but rather the system work for them. So how easy is the LIMS is to use? And can I segregate what my different types of users can see based on their roles and responsibilities? It is a system that is intuitive enough so I can train quickly my employees. What kind of user interface I need for my employees? And if you have clients, what kind of interface I want to offer to my clients? And what I recommend is check with your customers review or other customers that have the solution that you plan to implement. Mobility. Nowadays, the laboratory setting has changed, and the work that was performed in the lab, where samples were logged in, now manufacturing facility wants the ability to log the sample from the manufacturing shop or even from the warehouse to be able to log a material that needs to be tested. So having mobile capabilities is very important. Does my system have that capability? So I'm going to talk a little bit in the next 10 minutes about STARLIMS and how we support the essential laboratory process that the lab work, and why we call STARLIMS essential for the labs of the future to succeed. And I know every laboratory is looking to implement best practices and optimize the laboratory operations to become a laboratory of the future, and also what I call to be at the leading edge rather at the bleeding edge. So why partner with us? We offer a full comprehensive solution that is fully configurable. And one of the main reasons industries buy a laboratory information management system is because it does what they need to do and support their lab operations and comply with their business needs. So some of the, in a very high level nutshell of features and functionalities that we have is we can support batch and sample management for the labs to track their results, the out of specifications real time, automation of COA, visibility of lot genealogy, the components of your finished product and their corresponding results, traceability, change of custody, automated calculations, trending, and visibility of batch sample status and turnaround. So rather to be reactive, be proactive. And in the lab, the workflows could be as simple as just 3-step logging, result entry, or release, but you can have optional steps. And with our solution, we have default configurable workflows that cover all the possible scenarios of the lab without the need of customization, just configuration. Equipment calibration, you're going to be able to manage your preventive schedules, generate the calibration curve, keep track of your equipment logbook through the system, prevent the use of an equipment not within service, so minimizing headaches to explain why you use a system that wasn't calibrated. Manage your sample and inventory tracking. It could be biological or non-biological sample. Tracking your reagent consumable. Perform several transactions for that inventory, consumption. Ensure that you have visibility of your storage location and even capacity. How many times you have to scrap inventory that is expired and that the lab didn't use, how much that represents for your organization when you can have a system where you can track your inventory and use it before it expires. Training certificate, ensuring with our system that you're going to be able to track your test method certification, along with that, the certificates, and also to set workflows to prevent that users that are not certified to perform a method, that the system decline access or not allow for these analysts to perform for those methods that require for them to be certified. So talking again, how to be proactive rather than reactive. Configurability, our system is fully configurable. It has several default configurable workflows, and it provides the flexibility. So we have over 20 years, almost 30 years of experience in the different industries that we serve, and we have mastered these workflows to minimize or eliminate customization and leverage on the configurability of the system. Direct interface with equipment. We provide integration with waters and power, chromatographic data system, thermal, chromeleon chromatographic data system, SAP. We have a data capture utility to allow to connect to any instrument on the laboratory. It could be a pH meter, a neutrino, a balance, as long as it has an RS-232 or TCP/IP connection. And if you have a standalone system that you want to integrate, we have a scientific data management solution that allows to parse data for any kind of instrument that is connected to a computer, that the output is visible to the human eye. Integration capabilities. Through web services API, we can connect to any kind of third-party system. It could be an ERP like JD Edwards, any kind of master execution system or document management system or chromatographic data system. And we have other ways for data capture and interface, such as file exchange, secure FTP, and many other features out of the box to support third-party integration. The laboratory today needs to be connected. The silos of information are things of the past, and being able to communicate with other enterprise systems is key to advance efficiencies on the lab. Import or export of major data files. Our solution can read any kind of files. It could be a CSV, XML, TXT, PDF. As long as readable with the human eye, our scientific data management system is going to be able to capture, eliminating having the analysts to do manual entries or redundant data entry. Quality and regulatory, how we support these, our solutions. We have medical device and also non-medical device, and the same rigorosity of system development life cycle and validation is used for all of our products, regardless if are medical device or not. And we hold certification of ISO 9001, and for medical device, ISO 13485. And we recently have been certified 27001, which is the Information Security Management System certification. And we constantly doing stress tests to our system for cybersecurity. So our Hollywood, Florida site is registered with FDA. So as I mentioned, quality is in our DNA. Is in the DNA of the parent, our parent organization, and is in our DNA as a sister division. Web interface. Our new solution is HTML5, meaning that you can access the solution via Google Chrome. So you can access it through any computer with internet connection. And most importantly, we offer not only a laboratory information management system, but we have ancillary solutions fully integrated. We have SDMS, we have electronic laboratory notebook, we have mobile applications, we have advanced analytics, we have a cloud offering, which Sam is going to talk about. We have a complementary content library where you're going to be able to leverage on some predefined advanced analytic dashboards and mobile applications. We have a new portal that is for the clients of our clients to be able to put requests for those processing labs and have visibility real time of the material testing requests. And the most important thing is that being integrated means that forget about the headaches of having to bring a third-party vendor or third-party integration, or the complexities that involve having to have those several pieces from different vendors and the pointing finger whenever you need support. So I think this is something that differentiates us greatly. So having that said, mobility, we have several mobile applications, and the beauty about the mobility application and functionality that we offer is that we can, the customers can create their own mobile applications. And as I mentioned, advanced analytics is, in the past, the data was just sitting in the database. And in order for us to produce and see minimum reports, we need to either export data, create queries, generate reports. Now, with our advanced analytics, you're going to transform the data in valuable information, because these dashboards will give you the details of the health of your lab, and you're going to be able to interact with these dashboards real time. So they're not static dashboards, they're dashboards that you are going to be able to drill down and derive conclusions from them. Very powerful. And as I mentioned, the portal for real-time visibility of the material test reports and results for your clients. And lastly, you need, as I mentioned, a company that stands by you whenever you are implementing, and we offer professional service and customer support that work with the laboratory to assess your configuration, identify where you're going to have the biggest bang and the biggest opportunity and the biggest growth and return of investment of an implementation. And the team will guide you and walk you by the hand, and also will train you so you can be sufficient post-go live. And always our customer support, we have a program called Follow the Sun, and no matter where you are in the globe, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be able to answer the phone or answer your message for critical situations. And this is an example of the timeline of an implementation that our team follow, very structured way of implementation, and I call it bulletproof, so you can realize your return of investment. So I truly appreciate the opportunity, so I'm going to let Sam walk you through the 4 reasons why Abbott Informatics Cloud Service is the right partner and the benefits of the cloud system. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Varghese. I'm a Senior Product Manager with Abbott Informatics. And today I'd like to discuss with you the 4 reasons why Abbott Informatics, the cloud services that we offer, is the right partner for you. So you've just been hearing about the benefits of the STARLIMS LIMS solution. But one of the key components of implementing, whether it be STARLIMS or any LIMS, is the infrastructure on which it's running. So infrastructure many times is silently running behind the scenes, and many users are not really aware of the value of a well-managed systems infrastructure until, that is, something goes wrong. And whether it be recovering from that disaster or responding to some type of performance issue, how well the infrastructure is designed and managed on an ongoing basis can make or break a business. So what I'd like to do today is start out with just discussing what it would take if you were thinking of hosting the LIMS yourself. So there's 3 primary components. The first one is infrastructure, and that includes application, database servers, and networking servers. The networking components that you would need to connect these different systems together. Second is licensing. So this would include Windows licensing as well as some type of database licensing. For STARLIMS, that would be either SQL Server or Oracle licenses. And then number 3 is personnel. So you would typically have individuals on staff that have expertise in server administration, database administration, and network administration to manage enterprise systems. And then on an ongoing basis, you have to have regular processes in place to manage the system. So this includes, for example, patch management. Microsoft and other vendors will release periodically patches to their system to address security issues that may have come up. And sometimes there could be an actual vulnerability in the wild that needs to be quickly addressed. And we see that from time to time in the news where something has happened, a ransomware attack has broken out, and it becomes very critical to patch the systems on a timely basis so that your systems are not affected by that. Number 2 is malware protection, making sure that on an ongoing basis that your systems are adequately protected against any viruses that already exist out there. Number 3, backup and retention. So making sure that you have processes in place to back up the data and retain it for an appropriate period of time so that in the event that something should happen, you are ready to be able to restore a copy of your valuable data. Number 4 is disaster recovery. So around the world, depending on where your database is located, there are various kinds of natural calamities that can happen, such as earthquakes or hurricanes. It could be a man-made type calamity, a power systems outage, whatever might be the case. But when a disaster strikes, it becomes very critical that you have both an architecture that is designed in such a way to bring the system back up very quickly, as well as having trained personnel on staff that know what to do when the disaster strikes, and quickly execute those plans and bring your systems back up so that you can continue running your organization. And then number 5 is regulatory compliance. Increasingly in this world, privacy is becoming very crucial for both companies as well as their customers. And governments have passed laws such as the HIPAA compliance in the US for patient privacy for clinical and public health customers, and then the EU for the GDPR that has been passed to protect the privacy of customers. And so this is very important that you have the appropriate safeguards in place to comply with those regulatory requirements. Now, when we go to our customers, we hear some challenges that they face in implementing LIMS themselves. So first, for example, is infrastructure costs. IT systems can be expensive to maintain in-house, and some organizations are looking to cut costs, especially by outsourcing the infrastructure costs. And this is really driven, if you notice, the cloud revenues that a lot of organizations in the past, the infrastructure used to be on-premise, and there would be huge capital investments to build out data centers. But now increasingly, customers are relying on the cloud providers out there and using cloud systems. Startup delays. So sometimes organizations have processes you have to go through to purchase systems and requisition those and set those up, and that can contribute to a delay in getting started with the project. Number 3 is finding capital. So buying infrastructure and software licenses can require capital investments, and depending on the trends that are going on in the organization, that capital investment may or may not be available. And continuing on, the lack of agility, so being able to scale over time. Suppose you want to be able to start out with just 1 or 2 labs right now, but over time you want to continue to expand to other labs in the organization. So that ability to be able to expand is something that's sometimes challenging for some organizations, to be able to build out the infrastructure capabilities required to support that organization. The lack of expertise. Some organizations don't have expertise to effectively manage security, databases, or cloud infrastructure. And other organizations find challenges with having adequate disaster recovery plans in place. So for all of these reasons, many of our customers over the years have turned to Abbott Informatics to host the STARLIMS in the cloud for them. So what we're able to provide is a high quality and secure cloud STARLIMS solution that is fully managed by Abbott Informatics and allows our customers to focus on running the laboratory. So we provide flexible options to meet budgetary needs. So there are some customers of ours that prefer to have a cloud subscription option. And a cloud subscription option in the monthly fee will include the STARLIMS licenses, the STARLIMS maintenance and support, all the infrastructure that is required, as well as the managed services that we talked about earlier. But there are other customers that do have capital funding available, but they want to be able to operationalize or put the management of the infrastructure as well as a monthly infrastructure cost into an operational expense budget. And that's where the managed hosting option comes in. So with managed hosting, the STARLIMS licenses is purchased as a separate capital purchase. The maintenance is handled separately as an annual payment, and the monthly fee just has infrastructure and managed services. So that will be a lower monthly fee compared to cloud subscription. So you have options depending on your budget needs. We're able to provide you with both options, cloud subscription or managed hosting, to meet your needs. Now, the second reason why we believe that Abbott Informatics is the right partner for your hosting needs is that we have world-class infrastructure and security. We start out with our underlying infrastructure being powered by Amazon Web Services, who is the leading cloud provider in the world. And on top of that, we provide the capacity for you to be able to scale as you need. So you're able to start with what you need now and add licenses over time as you grow. In addition, for our organizations, we provide 3 environments: a development, test, and production, so that you're able to mitigate any kind of risk that may come out in moving your code from development and moving it through into a fully production environment. Our Uptime commitment is 99.9% availability. We also have HIPAA compliance in the US for clinical and public health customers, as well as GDPR compliance in the EU for our customers that are in the European Union. And we also offer global coverage to be able to support customers all over the world, including Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific. And our architecture is designed in such a way to have high availability. And what that means is within a given region, we'll have 2 servers running simultaneously in distinct locations within that particular region, so that if one should go down, immediately the other server is picking up and continuing the load. Now, security is something that is very important to us, and so we've architected our offering in such a way to be able to offer high security for data that's in transit and at rest. So data that is in transit, that is moving between systems, so between the cloud environment and your desktop or laptop, that's encrypted with 256-bit encryption. And the data that is stored on the servers is actually encrypted also with 256-bit encryption. So data in transit and data at rest are both encrypted at the same level. And we also offer one other layer of protection, and that is in the connectivity option. For customers that want a public connection, that means that they're able to access the system from anywhere on the internet. We offer that with a secure SSL encrypted URL. And then for customers that prefer to have private connectivity, we're also able to support that and set up the system in such a way that it's only available behind the customer's firewall. And you would first have to VPN in before you could use it. Now, the third reason why we believe we are the right partner for hosting STARLIMS is a fully managed service. So this way, our customers are able to focus on running the lab and leave the management of the system to us. Now, we have people on staff that have years of experience in managing both STARLIMS and the infrastructure itself. In fact, our staff have a combined experience of managing STARLIMS is over 50 years, and combined IT infrastructure and application support experience of over 100 years. And the team manages an infrastructure that includes over 400 servers and over 200 terabytes of customer data. Now, with our fully managed service, we're able to provide you with a faster time to launch. In fact, from the time that the order comes in, our cloud team is able to provide you with the development systems in less than 5 days. And we will take care of all the software installation that is required on there, including providing the installation qualification for STARLIMS. We offer within the system, we take care of the protection, the patch management, the malware protection. It's architected in such a way to address those needs. And we also provide data backups of 5 weeks. So this is the data back snapshots of the data. Even though the LIMS will maintain history going back years, we take periodic snapshots, and that will be retained for 5 weeks. In the event that anything should go wrong, you're able to restore back to an earlier version of the database. And then finally, our cloud support is available 24/7, so you can get your support issues addressed either via phone, email, or Zendesk ticketing system. Now, patch management, as I mentioned, is very critical, and so I wanted to highlight here that we have a rigorous patch testing and implementation process here. So, for example, from the time that Microsoft releases the patch on Patch Tuesday, within 1 day we've got it into our testing instances. Within 7 days it's in the development instances. Within 14 days in the test instances. And within 17 days it's rolled out into production. So that way you can be assured that whatever patches are released by the manufacturer, that one, it's been tested to ensure that the systems are operational and there's no issues in terms of the performance, and then actually implementing that patch all the way to production to make sure the system is appropriately protected. And then we also offer disaster recovery commitments of 4 hours for the recovery time objective, which is the time commitment to bring the systems back up in the event of disaster. And 15 minutes is the maximum data loss that you would incur in the event of any kind of disaster. And we do test this with an annual timed exercise. So the fourth reason that I wanted to highlight here is the benefits of organizational synergy. So what does this mean? Well, your cloud services are managed then by the same company that invented and built STARLIMS. So this provides you with certain benefits that we call the synergy of the organizational, the operational portion, working with the team that has actually developed this software. So this includes best practices. Best practices discovered across all of Abbott Informatics are utilized within the cloud services, whether it be in professional services or in R&D. We're able to take that knowledge and apply that within cloud services and offer that to our customers. And there's also a feedback loop. So any efficiencies that the cloud operations team is able to identify are being passed back then to the product teams, so that could eventually be put into the product and made available to all of our customers. And then the other key benefit is by focusing on just managing STARLIMS, the team is able to discover operational efficiencies that can apply to all customers. So just to give you an idea of the benefits of this, in the last year, the team has been able to reduce the infrastructure usage 15% by looking at optimizing the application through various methodologies. And another benefit that they were able to offer our customers in the past, it would take few hours for the system to be down every month to do patching and other kinds of updates, but they're actually able to apply automation to revamp that patching process from the few hours down to a few minutes per month, allowing less downtime for our customers. So these are why we believe that we're the right partner for you if you are choosing STARLIMS and the benefits that the STARLIMS LIMS provide when it comes time to deciding your infrastructure. We believe that partnering with our cloud operations and our cloud services will be the best option for you, primarily due to, one, the flexible options that we offer to meet your budgetary needs. Number two, the benefits of the world-class infrastructure and security that we offer. Number three, a fully managed service. And number four, the same company that has built the software, the same one managing the system, and thereby we're able to take those efficiencies and apply them back into the service that we offer to our customers. So thank you, and with that, I'll turn it back to the moderator.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Samuel and Janet, for that really thorough presentation. Now we have a bunch of questions rolling in, so we're going to go ahead and dive into the Q&A portion of today's event. Just to remind everyone, the Q&A box is over on the left-hand side of this webinar interface. This is where you can type in your questions for either of the speakers or both the speakers. We'll do our best to get to all the questions. If we do not get to the question during the Q&A session, we will pass them along to the speakers so that they can follow up after the webinar. Okay, here's the first question, and Samuel or Janet, either of you is welcome to jump in to answer this. Would either of you recommend a big bang approach or a phased approach?
Hello, this is Janet, and this is relative, a big bang approach or phase approach. It will depend on what exactly your organization want to execute and the resources available, especially on the client side, right? Because when you do a big bang approach, you need to ensure that you have all the resources, identify key subject matter experts for each of those areas that you want to implement. It could be that you want to do an implementation where you connect several enterprise systems. You need to have the resources for that. So if you want to reap the value of an integrated solution with other enterprise systems and all your designations, big bang approach. If you want to tackle the areas of biggest value for your organization, then a phase approach. But it's relative to exactly what will be the strategic goal for that organization.
Okay, great. I have another audience question for either of you. This attendee is asking, he said that they have a Chromeleon CDS system in the lab. Is there an interface with any version, 6.8 or 7.2?
Yeah, this is Janet, and yes, we have a interface with 7.2, 10.29, and 7.2 SR5.
Okay, great. Another question from the audience member for either of you. Is it required to maintain cinematographic raw data, area system, suitability, et cetera, in LIMS, or can they get a final value calculated from CDS?
You always need to keep the data from the system of source, but my recommendation is always let the system of source do the calculation and what it does best, and you can always send the information, just the result or calculated result to LIMS, to a LIMS system.
Okay. Another question for either of you. How many system administrators do you recommend?
Yeah, I can take that. So this is Sam. You would typically have one system administrator managing multiple systems, so it wouldn't just be STARLIMS. So typically you would have a prorated FTE when you're looking at the total cost of ownership. So typically when the project is being implemented, in the beginning, that person would be more involved in setting the systems up and getting everything installed and ready to go. But then once it's ongoing, then they would operationalize and handle the maintenance and management of that, and that would be part of their responsibilities in managing multiple systems.
Okay, perfect. Maybe another follow-up for you, Sam. Which databases does your solution support?
Sure. Yeah, so STARLIMS supports both the SQL Server and Oracle databases when you are installing it on your own infrastructure. In our cloud environment, since it's a fully managed service that our administrators are administering, we only offer SQL Server.
Okay, perfect. And Janet, you might have spoken to this one a little bit, but this relates to an earlier question that you answered. An attendee is asking, they currently have a 6.8 version and they're wondering if it's compatible.
That will be a question that I will have to get back to the technical team, but as far as my understanding, the answer is yes, but I will have to confirm. Okay,
great. Question for either of you. What is the most important value added in terms of processing labs compared to ERP/SAP, since SAP QC module can provide the QC services?
I can take that one, and I consider that SAP or any ERP system complements with the STARLIMS or Laboratory Information Management System. SAP mostly are used for sales, manufacturing, finance, accounting, even HR. Yes, they have a quality module. However, we specialize on the laboratory and quality setting and testing settings. So support all the process associated to the laboratory settings is not only just a result of a product sample testing, is everything that relates to it, like a stability pools and the schedules, all the protocols, trending, certificate of analysis, execution or method execution, and all the documentation that relates to sample preparation, standard preparation. So there are many different. So if you ask me about where do you reap the benefit, and also the rigidity, or how rigid is SAP. So it's in the flexibility and configurability to manage all your ancillary and laboratory processes and be able to demonstrate quality compliance and reply to audits and all the efficiencies that we bring to the lab as it relates to the processes.
Okay, great. I have another question here that looks like it's sort of about compatibility. This attendee is asking, to incorporate LIMS into the larger data management system architecture, LIMS needs to be able to communicate with other data collection systems like historians. Is data in LIMS able to be retrieved via OPC or SQL queries?
So within the STARLIMS offering, there are multiple options for being able to get data in and out of the system. So we do provide web services capabilities that you can use to extract data. Now, if it was on-premise, you would actually be able to access the database directly since it's SQL Server or Oracle. However, a recommended approach is to write the web services queries and make those available so that you can pull that data into whatever systems you may need. And within the web services, you can use SQL Server, SQL queries.
Okay. Another question from an attendee asking about backing up the work. They're asking, do you have a backup schedule provided for incremental backups by your team, or is it scheduled on their end?
Yeah, so this is a fully managed offering for our customers. So we take care of administration, and so what we provide is 5 weeks of data backups, and so this is handled as full backups on Sundays and differentials on a nightly basis with transaction logs every 15 minutes. So keep in mind that that's the backups. The LIMS, of course, will retain years and years of history, but the backup itself will be for 5 weeks. In the event that anything has happened, the code promotion went wrong, it's just there for peace of mind to be able to restore that in the event it's needed.
Okay, perfect. Another question for either of you. An attendee is asking, is the mobile environment designed for data capture, or is this for reviewing for convenience? Also, where can I find a list of the functionalities available in the mobile interface?
I can answer that one. This is Janet. We have, it's designed to, you can design it the way it suits best your organization, because as I mentioned, you can create your own mobile app. But today we have mobile applications, let's say for logging, a folder, a sample. You have mobile application for result entry and also for sample collection. And we have a library where we keep those, what we call the content library. So if you're interested to know what are those, I'm not sure if they can shoot an email or and for the attendees and this particular attendee, and we can provide information directly of what are the mobile apps that we have, but it's basically you can create your own.
Okay, great. And we just have a couple minutes left, so we just have time for a few more questions. An attendee is asking, how often do you refresh the underlying infrastructure in your cloud?
Yeah, so if this is referring to the patching of the system itself, I had shared earlier, for example, the Microsoft patching schedule. So we have a defined process that we go through in order to apply those patches. First, test them, and then implement them in the system, and that was within 17 days. If you're asking about updating the STARLIMS system itself, as our R&D team is releasing the different updates, there are two components to this. One of the benefits of STARLIMS is that we have a two-tier architecture. There is what we call a technology layer, which is the underlying layer that interacts with Windows and the database and so on. And then there's a business application layer, and these two can be independently updated. And the benefit for that is you can continue to keep your system updated in terms of the technology and update to the latest version of Windows and so on without having to revalidate the business logic that you've configured. So with that being said, when there is either of these updates, our cloud team will work with you to schedule the update, right? So typically if it's a technology update, we'll work with you to identify a time slot that would work for you and coordinate with your organization on when to do that update. Now, if it's a dictionary update, that's quite more complex in the sense that you have to look at what the impact would be on your business logic. So typically that will be a professional services engagement to evaluate what does this involve in terms of the impact to your organization, the validation that you have to do, and so on. And we would work with you from a project standpoint to actually update that. So the technology piece will be handled relatively quickly by our cloud team, and just depending on your availability. And then the dictionary piece, which is a business logic update, would be handled as a separate project.
Okay, perfect. And we have time very, very quickly for just one last question. This is someone asking about biopharma compatibility. They're asking, does your LIMS work in biopharma biologics area? In other words, can you track next generation sequencing or biosimilar manufacturing?
This is Janet. We have a product called Life Science, which today we integrate with, and we have supported many pharma organizations that have instruments that generate next generation sequencing, and mainly the output or final results are sent back to our solution, and the answer is yes, but then the details of that particular product are from the life science team. So if the person can provide additional information, I can ensure that the proper individuals contact them, but the answer is yes. We can support, and we have been supporting pharma biotech organizations.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much, Janet and Samuel, for fielding all of those questions. Thank you, everyone, for submitting all of those questions. If we did not get to your question today during this Q&A session, they will be passed along to the speakers so that they can follow up with you. Just a final reminder to the audience, please let us know your thoughts about this presentation by answering our brief survey. It's going to appear on your screen shortly. Your candid answers are really appreciated, and they do help us craft future events. Remember that this webcast will be available on pharmamanufacturing.com. Please feel free to log in at any time to view it again or share it with your colleagues. Thank you again, Janet and Samuel, so much for your presentation. Attendees, we also encourage you to visit pharmamanufacturing.com to gain even more tools and resources aimed at helping you achieve on-the-job success. On behalf of Pharma Manufacturing Magazine and the folks at Abbott, thank you everyone for your attendance and have a great day.